Kant's latest influence came from a very organized and highly understood book published in 1973 during the depths of the Great Depression. It was called The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. Kant's basic idea was simple. In order to keep people from employment, government have to exit when the economy is growing. That's because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market became satisfied, business reduced their investment, setting in motion the just cycle. Less investment favors less consumption, or even less reason for business to invest. The economy may reach very balance, but the cost of high employment and social pain. It would be better for government to get moving again. The notion that government deficits are good seems old these days. For most of the past 2 decades, American biggest worry has been inflation driven by the demand for products. 6 years ago, when one of our fathers couldn't afford work, the problem was not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had time to getting the idea. Most economists at the time rejected his idea and favored a balanced budget. Most politicians did not stand his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American President Roosevelt tried various ways to restore the economy, but he never completely gave up trying to solve the direction got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only idea he hadn't yet tried. It was called the General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people free employed, government had to run deficits when the economy is growing. That's because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes satisfied, business reduces the investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less reason for the business to invest. The economy in a rich private balance, but the cost of high employment and social pains. It would be better for the government to avoid higher. The notion government deficits are good seems out these days. For most of the past 2 decades, Americans' biggest worry was the inflation brought by. But some 6 years ago, when one of the fathers could find work, the problem was not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Favor balanced budget. Most politicians didn't answer his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American President Roosevelt tried various ways to restore the economy, but he never completely gave up trying to balance budgets. In 1938, the depression got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. Keynes' largest influence came from a very organized and had to understand book prior to 1936, during the depths of the Great Depression. He was called the general theory of employment, interest, and money. Keynes' basic idea is simple. In order to keep people employed, government have to run deficits when the economy is growing. That's because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes satisfied, businesses reduce their investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less reason for businesses to invest. The economy the managed public balance, but at cost of high employment and social pain. It would be better for government to avoid the pain in the first place by putting a lot of money into the economy to get moving again. The notion that government deficits are good seems odd these days. For most of the past decades, America's biggest worry was the inflation brought by too much of it. But some 60 years ago, when one of the fathers couldn't find work, the problem was a low demand. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Most economists of the time rejected his idea and favored balanced budget. Most questioned his idea to begin with. As the question continued, the American president, Roosevelt, tried various, but he never completely gave up trying to balance the budget. In 1938, the inflation grew worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. Keynes' largest influence came from value organizer and had understood work values in 1906, during the depths of the Great Depression. It was called general theory of employment, interest, and money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people free employed, government have to run deficit when the economy is strong, but because private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes satisfied, businesses reduce their investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less reason for businesses to invest. The economy may reach perfect balance, but at the cost of high employment and social pain. It would be better for government to avoid paying the first price than funding a lot of money into their economy to get it moving again. The notion that government deficits are good seems out these days. For most of the past 30 years, America's biggest worry was the inflation brought by too much demand for product. Ah, well, the fathers couldn't find work. The problem was not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting educated as a fabulous balanced budget. Most questioned did not understand his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American president, Roosevelt, tried various ways, but he never completely gave up trying to balance the budget. In 1938, the depression got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. Keynes' large influence came from value organizing and had to understand work published in 1936 during the depths of the Great Depression. It was called the general theory of employment, interest, and money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people fully employed, government have to run a deficit when our economy is strong. That's because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes satisfied, businesses reduce their investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less reason for businesses to invest. The economy may reach perfect balance, at the cost of high employment and social pain. It would be better for government to avoid paying the first price by putting a lot of money in the economy to get it moving again. The national government deficits are good seems out these days. For most of the past 2 decades, Americans based worry of oh, ここかな the economy, they're moving again. The national government deficit are good seems out these days. For most of the past 2 decades, Americans' biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. But some 60 years ago, when one of the fathers couldn't find work, the problem was not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Most economists all the time rejected his idea and favored a balanced budget. Most politicians didn't understand his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American president Roosevelt tried various ways to restore the economy, but he never completely gave it the right balanced budget. In 1938, the depression grew worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. Keynes' largest influence came from a battle organized and helped in the book published in 1936 during the depths of the Great Depression. It was called the General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people fully employed, governments have to run deficits when the economy is growing. That's because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes satisfied, businesses reduce their investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less reason for business to invest. The economy may reach private balance, but at the cost of high employment and social pain. It would be better for government to avoid paying the first price from cutting the bottom line to get moving again. The national government deficit growth seems up these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation rather than my too much demand for growth. It was some 60 years ago, when over $4 couldn't find work. The problem wasn't enough demand. Even then, Keynes had a time getting his idea accepted. Most economists over time rejected his idea and favored balanced budget. Most politicians didn't understand his idea to begin with. As the devolution continued, the American President Roosevelt tried various ways to reduce the economy, but he never completely gave up trying to balance the budget. In 1938, the depression got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. Keynes' largest influence came from a badly organized and house-unsought book published in 1906 during the depths of the Great Depression. He called General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people fully employed, government has to run deficits when the economy is slowing. That's because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes satisfied, business reduces investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less in the future, less consumption, and even less reason for business to invest. The economy may reach private balance, but because of high employment and social pain. It would be better for government to avoid funding in the first place by funding a lot of money in the economy to get moving again. The notion of the government deficit to occur seems like out these days. For most of American biggest worry is inflation. ここ聞き取れねえんだよな。なんで The notion of the government deficit to occur seems off these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry was inflation growth. The notion of the government deficit to occur seems off these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for growth. But some 60 years ago, when uh, the notion of the government deficit, deficit occurred seems off these days. ここまではいいんだ。For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation. America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. The national government deficit occurred seven of these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation brought by too much demand for products. Inflation. America's biggest worry has been inflation. Has has been inflation. America's biggest worry has been inflation. America's biggest worry has been inflation. Has been inflation. America's biggest worry has been inflation. America's biggest worry has been inflation. Been infl- has been inflation. The notion that government deficits are good seems out these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by two themes out these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry 普通だな brought on by too much demand for products. Brought on by too much demand for products. America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. 一つなぎだからむずいんだ。America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. Oh, sorry. Throughout these days, for most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. But some 60 years ago, when one of the four adults, when one of the four, when one of the four pro, when one of the four adults, when one of the four adults, 大人の4人に1人, when one of the four adults, one of the four adults, the inflation brought on by too much demand for products. But some 60 years ago, when one of the four adults couldn't find work, the problem was not enough demand. Even then, had oh my god. Keynes had a city ago when one of the four adults couldn't find work. The problem was not enough demand. Even then, had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Most economists of the time rejected his idea and favored balanced budget. Most politicians didn't understand his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American president Roosevelt tried various ways to reset the economy, but he never completed. Uh, in 1978, the depression government elected Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. Kennedy's influence came from a very organized and hard-to-adjust work It was called the general theory of employment, interest, and money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people fully employed, government had to run deficit when the economy is strong. Because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market became saturated, businesses reduced their investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less reason for business to invest. The economy may reach profit at once, but it requires a high employment and social pain. It would be rather for the government to avoid pain in the first place by putting a lot of money into the economy to get moving again. The notion that government deficit appears seems odd these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by much even for products. Just some 60 years ago, when all the $4 couldn't find work, the problem was not enough to earn. Even then, Keynes had a hard time budgets. Most politicians didn't understand his idea to begin with. The American president, Roosevelt, tried various ways to restore the economy, but he knew the economy gave in 1938, the inflation kept worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt asserted the only idea he hadn't yet tried. Keynes' earliest influence came from badly organized and highly industrial work published in 1936 during the depths of the Great Depression. He recalled the idea of zero employment, interest, and money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people fully employed, government had to run deficits when the economy is growing. But that's because the private sector won't invest well. When the market becomes satisfied, you need to reduce your investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, fuels growth, less consumption, and the less reason for businesses to invest. The economy may reach profit balance, but it costs are high employment and social pain. It would be better for the government to be able to fast price if to get moving again. The notion that government deficit occurs seems odd these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation problem. Oh my god. When one of four adults couldn't find work, the problem wasn't in uh, Keynes had a time getting his idea accepted. Most economists of the time rejected his idea. They would balance the budget. Most politicians didn't understand his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American president Roosevelt tried various ways to restore the economy, but he never completely gave up trying to balance the budget. In 1930, the depression got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only idea he hadn't yet tried. To get moving again. The notion that government deficit occurs seems odd these days. For most of the past 2 decades, America's biggest worry has been inflation brought on by too much demand for products. Some 60 years ago, when one of the four adults couldn't find work, the problem was not enough to merge. Even then, Keynes Keynes had Keynes had hard time. Keynes had hard time. Keynes had a hard time. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea. Keynes had a hard time getting his idea. Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Doctors couldn't find work. The problem was oh, even then, Keynes had あれなんか言えない。 couldn't find work. The problem was not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. なんか、どうなったんだ？Not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea. Less than 6 years ago, one of the fathers couldn't find work. The problem was not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Most economists outright rejected his idea and favored a balanced budget. Most politicians didn't understand his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American president, Roosevelt, tried various ways to restart the economy, but he never completely gave up trying to balance the budget. In 1938, the depression got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. How to understand the work of August 96, the depths of the Great Depression. It was called the General Cereal Implant, Interest and Money. Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people fully employed, government have to run deficits when the economy is growing. That's because the private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes successful, this is a reduced investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment, future, less consumption, and even less reason for business to invest. The economy made its profit bonds that would cause high employment and social pain. It'd be better for government to pay the first price by putting lots of money into the economy to get it moving again. The notion oh seems uh for most past 2 decades, America's biggest worry is the inflation brought on by the much of substantial as well further. The problem was not enough demand. Even then, Keynes had hard favor fast budgets. Most politicians did not understand the idea he had to begin with. As the depression continued, the American president Roosevelt tried various research the economy. In the Canadian economy was budget. In 1888, the depression got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. 聞こえねえ。Keynes' largest influence came from badly organized. It was called the general theory っつってんのか。Keynes' basic idea was simple. In order to keep people foreign employed, government had run deficit and economy throwing. Not because private sector wasn't investing enough. As the market became successful, this is a reduced investment, setting in motion a dangerous cycle. Less investment of fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less in the economy made its profit bonds that caused high employment and social pain. It would be better for government to buy the fast rates, never losing lots of money in the economy to get a moving again. The notion that government deficit occurs seems dated. Almost the first years, America's biggest worry is inflation was too much demand for products. But some 60 years ago, one of the $4 was well, even then, Keynes had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Most economists at the time rejected. Most politicians did not stand. Uh, did not. But he never completely gave up on again. In 1938, the revolution got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only new idea he hadn't yet tried. Cool. Generous were involved in interest and money. Ken's basic idea was simple. In order to keep people employed, governments have to run deficits when the economy is growing. The classical private sector won't invest enough. As the market becomes satisfied, businesses reduce their investment. It is a much dangerous cycle. Less investment, fewer jobs, less consumption, and even less. The economy may reach growth balance the cost of high employment or social plan. It would be better for government to avoid crime in the first place by putting a lot of money into the economy to get moving again. The Northern government has just approved for most parts they get mega biggest worry out of inflation rather than too much demand for products. The self-six-year-old war. The problem was not demand. Even then, Kane had a hard time getting his idea accepted. Most economic at the time rejected his idea and favored balanced budget. Most politicians did not understand his idea to begin with. As the depression continued, the American president, Roosevelt, tried various ways to restore the economy. Then his economy policy gave up trying to balance the budget. In 1938, the depression got worse. Reluctantly, Roosevelt accepted the only idea he hadn't yet tried.